USA has made the switch to midweek games, including the last couple last night. Talk to us a little bit about what the midweek schedule looks like for you, and then we'll preview the upcoming game.
Yeah, first of all, actually excited about it. Obviously, it's unique to play on Thursdays and Tuesdays, but to have the opportunity to be on television, get your brand out, showcase your players, showcase your university, I think is a positive. So if you have to play it any day, I think it's great to be on TV. Players want to do that, and so the way we're treating that, obviously we're in an open date right now, but also we play Thursday. So we started yesterday with our prep for our next opponent, trying to get ready for them. Also trying to balance getting guys healthy and not banged up and some of those things. So we've tried to balance that as much as possible, while still keeping momentum and also keeping the edge that you want to have. I think it's a fine line. We love open dates, but sometimes you wish if you got good momentum going, sometimes it interrupts it. So we've tried to balance that out the best we can, and while keeping our guys healthy and focused on what's coming next.
But that must help with having the earlier game on Thursday with the bye week and that momentum, right?
I think honestly, I think I'd probably prefer it being Saturday just to get the mindset back a little bit more, because if the time you want to give them off a little bit, to get their minds and bodies right. And sometimes when you give them, not sometimes, all the time when you give players days off, the next day you come back, it's never what you want it to be, because that's how it is. And so it's like when you go on a vacation, you don't want to go back to work on a Monday. You need like Tuesday, right? Everybody knows that. It's the same thing.
I don't know about you, Coach.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So so that having that, so we'll have to navigate through that. But I think our team understands where we're at and what we need to do to continue to play at a high level, and so we'll trust that they'll take when they get the time away, that they'll handle that properly and come back properly.
Did you and the coaches watch the game all together last night, or?
No, I'm sure. I saw a little bit of the score, and I'm sure some guys watched. Some guys probably watched every bit of it. Some, we're going to watch it. We're going to watch it all the time anyway, because you got the video. So, more for me, I didn't watch much of it, because you're by that time, whatever time it started and stuff, you're getting tired. You're ready to go to bed. Because if you get emotionally attached to it, then you're up all night long. I got emotionally attached last week, and I was up till 1 o'clock because I couldn't sleep. And so I tried not to, because we're going to watch it. But the thing that I love is our conference is on TV, which is awesome. And our turn's coming, and so that's the exciting thing for me.
A lot of times you'll hear coaches do like a self-scout during the bye week, and I know this one's kind of a unique because you got a Thursday game after and then a Tuesday, so a quick turnaround for both of them. Have you had a chance, you and your staff had a chance to do anything like that? And if so, what are some things maybe you picked up on that maybe you want to improve on a little bit as you go into the conference run?
Well, you do look at what your tendencies are. Right? If we're in this formation, are we 80% run or whatever? And then defensively, you look at different things as far as, hey, what are we calling on key situations? Are we calling it too much? Does the opponent understand what we're trying to do and can take advantage of it? So you look at that as far as what you're calling and how you're calling it. More importantly than that, I think you go back and look at, hey, what are we getting by with? We've won, but what are we getting by with and not actually doing well? And so our biggest focus after watching that was we details of why we do something and the fundamentals of it have been lacking in certain areas. So the first 2 days of this week was heavy fundamental stuff as far as techniques on special teams or techniques on certain types of plays or things, the coverages we're trying to execute. And that's what we've noticed through the 4 games is when we've played well, great, but when there's so much more out there, and why are we not getting it? That was what our focus was. And so we did that, and then you have to also prepare for 2 opponents as well, because it's such a quick turnaround. And so you try to get that done and also prepare for the next 2.
Do you do anything differently with the guys themselves, knowing you have the quick turnaround? Like in the lead up to Thursday, is it any different knowing that you have another one coming right at you?
No, you have to get ready for the Thursday game, and whatever that takes to get ready for the first game. That's the most important game we've played. It's the biggest one we've ever played because it's our next one. That's the mindset. Going after that one, you'll change up a lot of stuff because it is a 4-day deal. And so a normal routine, players are used to routine, coach, that we won't have a routine. And so that to me would be the biggest challenge is just, hey, this is what we have to do. And then when you get in, like this is playing on a Thursday night now because you have an open date, that's fine because they get it. When you have to turn around, then the next Tuesday, that'll be a challenge, I think, getting our guys used to that. But we're going to prepare. We have prepared like sort of like normal. Now we did have a couple light days where we didn't hit and all those things that help. But since Wednesday, everything has been like it's a weekend game, and we'll continue to do that. The challenge is we get a couple days to rest. When you come back, 3 days out from a normal game, you're almost finishing up. We're going to have to treat it like it's sort of the first of the week because they've had a couple of days away. So to try to get that rest out of them.
Yeah, I guess with after the game next week, then you got travel on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So how much does that affect things on top of that? Do you just expedite and go from game day to like Tuesday next week on Friday?
Yeah, your Friday will turn into basically you'll clean up stuff in the morning, meeting wise, and then you'll really have to bring your team back that night to at least have an introduction to your next opponent. You really have to have like a Monday/Tuesday that first day, and then Saturday's same thing, and then Sunday, and then your Monday. You really, I think our plan right now is to try to do as much as we can here. And get a really practice out of it, and then leave later in the day just to try to maximize that day because it is only a 4-day deal, from there. So we've in the past in previous institutions we've played Saturday to Thursdays. So we have schedules based off of how we sort of did that. So we'll compare and try to fit it with what we're doing here. Nobody knows. I don't know if anybody has like a magic formula says this is how you should do it to be ready. We're going to do what we think's best. But the Friday will be the quick turnaround. Coaches know that. We've already been prepping for that. It'll be the players. Normally after a game, they get a day off. You don't get a day off. And so they will not have a day off between those games as far as at least some form of football. So to me, that'll be the biggest change that they'll have to adjust to. And I don't know if they've, in their time frame here, y'all can tell me, I don't know if they've ever had a 4-game turnaround like that. So might be brand new for everybody except the coaches. And so just the mental piece of that of, I'm sore. You got to still lock in on this because we got a short game, and the travel,
Looking at Bentley Handshaw, for tight ends, a lot of times for us, it's easy to look at what they do in the pass game. But he's made great strides there this season compared to what he did last year. But what has he done to kind of take that next step to really kind of be a leader on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, you obviously you see the catches that he makes. He does a nice job there, but he's and in the time that we've been here, I feel like he's really committed himself to being a true tight end. Where tight end is a O-lineman and he's a pass catcher, and sometimes you get all pass catchers, and sometimes you get guys that can run and they can't catch a cold, And so, but he is very well rounded, but he's committed himself to being a good blocker. And when you have that commitment to doing that, and it shows. From the way he plays physical, plays aggressive, and then obviously when he gets fed in the passing game, it makes them happy. They all want to catch it. But we're very pleased with the way he's blocking and what he does there, because then that opens up his pass stuff.
Until last night, Sam Houston really struggled offensively. They probably haven't watched much of the game last night yet, but they've used multiple quarterbacks. Noah Smith, number 6, the receiver, had like 10 catches last night. I think they're down a couple guys at receiver. All those things said, just kind of your thoughts on what they present challenge-wise for you.
Well, I think you got to look at who they've played first. Houston is a Big 12 team. BYU is a Big 12 team, and Air Force is arguably one of the top G5 teams, right? And so, and my point of that is they maybe not scored as many points, but they're also playing pretty good people. And so last night was really, in my opinion, the first time they've played somebody that was probably equal talent-wise in some of those. And so they scored a lot of points. Now, they have had some injuries. And so, and if you watch that game at all, they really should have won that game. They had it won, And so they're very talented. You can see on special teams, they got a lot of good players. Special teams tells you have good players, not the way you can run and all that. So they've got good players. They've obviously won a national championship in 2020. So they played at high level for a long time. So we're not underestimating them. We know who they play. Now, players, they see schedule or records and think, oh, this team's no good, and that's far from the truth. Are they finding themselves? Sure. But I think what you saw last night is closer to what they really are than the previous 3 weeks because of who they've been playing.
And likewise, they might not have scored a lot of points, but when they were playing BYU and those teams, they were also keeping them down to 14 points.
Mm-hmm.
And so what have you seen on their defense? What has been working for them on that side of the ball?
I think where they're really good is they don't do a lot of stuff. Some teams like Jack State does everything. They don't do a lot of stuff, but what they do, they're really good at. And what I mean by that is they've got two really good linebackers that can get to the football, and then up front they cause a lot of havoc with twisting and movement and stuff. And they never end up where they line up. And what I mean by that is they have a lot of different stunts and things, and they're good at what they do. They're sound at it, and they play confidently. And last night was really the most points they've given up. Obviously Houston ended up scoring a lot, but it was based off of turnovers there at the end. And so, we think from a defensive standpoint overall, that's the best defense that we've seen from there, and they're very sound, but they're very experienced. There's not anybody on that team that's not been there 3 to 5 years that's on the defense side of the ball, so they have a lot of experience. And with experience, you go back, they're playing 13 to 15 games a year. Look at our defense and how many games people have played on our defense compared to how many games those people have played there. And experience is experiences no matter what level you play at. And so they've got guys that have played 40-plus games. We got guys that are going on 4. So that's a big difference from an experience standpoint.
And you've been a part of a team that made the transition FCS to FBS, and Sam Houston's obviously in their first year doing that. How much of a transition is that? How different is, talking about some of the top teams in FCS, the talent level from them to, a Conference USA team?
Well, I don't think the talent level is that much different, especially if you're like a Sam Houston or somebody that's played for national titles and been all that. Some of those FCS programs have a lot of money. Sometimes more money than some of the FBS programs based off of state help and all that. And my point of that is when we transitioned there at my previous place, we weren't ready for it. We weren't ready for it from a facility standpoint. We weren't ready for it from a financial standpoint. We weren't ready for any of that. And it's hard to, and if you're not a top program, what I mean a top program in FCS, meaning you're national champion, semifinal. Those guys are the top of the top every year. North Dakota State's and some of those there all the time. They've invested in it for a long time. The biggest challenge I thought that we faced there was trying to get good up front, OLD. It was hard to recruit. You can get skill guys. It was just hard to get OLDO guys. And I think that's the biggest change or challenge that you face when you move up, because it's more physical. And so I've actually been impressed with how they have played and how they've held up with the schedule they've had physically up front. So that shows you they're heading in a good direction.
Their nose guard, Sam Houston, Meatball Smith. I think he's a Georgia State transfer. How does he affect games? And how much is he on your?
Is he over there with Linguini?
Somewhere around, yeah.
He's
Him and
the sauce.
Fettuccine.
He's the sauce. I'll say him and really their whole D line. Anytime you got a nickname Meatball, you're pretty good, right? I mean, that's just like if you got a nickname Meatball, something special. You got something special going on. The special sauce. You ever watch Saved by the Bell? It's Screech. It's in the sauce. And so, but he's hard to move. And anytime you're hard to move, cause issues. That means can you single block him? If you can't single block him, then you got to put 2 on him, and now that leaves somebody free. And so that's where they do a nice job of they demand double teams at a lot of positions, and then when that happens, frees up those linebackers to make a lot of plays.
Got time for one more, Coach.
Coach, do you think that Taylor Swift has put Travis Kelce on the map?
You know what? It must be, because everybody knows who he is. There's going to be a lot of young girls asking for Travis Kelce jerseys. 400% increase there. And so last night I was thinking, how can I get Taylor Swift to a Liberty game? So I was like, if that's going to be the case, maybe we can get her at Midweek on the Mountain, and have her come up here and sing Why You Being So Mean, and that would probably fit with what we need to be. So Taylor, if you're out there, drop the 0 and come get with the heroes.